Welcome to Live Better Longer. I'm your host, Bill Borton. Live Better Longer is all about helping baby boomers to do just that, live better longer. Many baby boomers are part of what's referred to as the sandwich generation, dealing with kids in college and at the same time with elderly parents and unfortunately getting involved with caregiving. My guest today is Casey Price, who is an elder law attorney from Haddonfield, New Jersey. Casey graduated law school in 1999 and joined his dad Carl to form Price and Price. Since that time, Price and Price has been serving the South Jersey community from Haddonfield with areas around estate and elder law, practice of estate and elder law. Casey, welcome.
Thank you, Bill. Thanks for having me.
So Casey, everybody has a long-term care plan.
Yes.
They either have one before they need care or they have one when they need care.
Right.
Right?
Absolutely.
I'm hopefully involved mostly when they don't need care yet, so that time can be their friend. And you get involved most of the time when they need care now and they don't have any time, right?
That's right.
So tell me about that.
Yeah, sure. I think, what you said is so spot on. You are the person who sets families up to put them in a better position when they come to see me. Because if somebody has long-term care insurance or something like that, for instance, man, we can do a lot as far as protecting money is concerned and getting them great care. But we're not there yet. Let's start with what the problem I see the most, which is the people who haven't met with someone like you before a problem occurs. So as mom or dad are aging, and they experience some sort of problem, some sort of crisis, some health crisis, whether it be a disease process like Alzheimer's disease or dementia or Parkinson's, that's a long-term disease, or a traumatic event like a stroke. Mm-hmm. When that occurs, families are caught off guard. Even though you kind of know in the back of your mind a problem might always happen, when it actually does occur, it is a crisis and it's a surprise, and people are truly caught off guard and they don't know where to start. What we're going to do now is talk about how we might be able to break that down into three kind of issues that if you consider each of these three issues, you can put yourself in a good spot to help care for mom or dad.
Mm-hmm. So who are the people that typically get you involved in the first place? Is it one or more of the adult children?
Usually it's the adult children. Sometimes it'll be a spouse, maybe, of someone who's fallen ill. Mm-hmm. But more often it's the adult children, or maybe the adult children and one of their parents to look at and care for the other parent.
And how often are they in alignment when they come to see you?
Oh, that's a great question. Sometimes is the answer. Sometimes they're in alignment. Now, what does that mean? It means the parent and the children might be thinking a little bit different. Then it might mean if there are multiple children, they might be at odds with each other as far as what the care plan is. I actually had a family once with a number of children, and every one of the children had a different idea for the proper care that mom and dad needed going forward. It was an interesting situation.
Doesn't bode well for a good outcome.
Well, actually, it doesn't in many situations. If people aren't getting along and have different ideas, no, it can often lead to complications when you're putting a plan together. In that case, however, it worked out really well. We were able to look at all the different ideas, come with one kind of best practice plan or strategy, and implement that, and they all bought in. It worked out really well.
It helps if the attorney's a good salesperson, right?
Well, it's collaboration. Can we all understand how much better we can be if we collaborate to solve the problem, as opposed to everybody trying to do their own thing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what's the initial step? I mean, when they first call or come to see you, what happens?
Yeah, so the crisis occurs, right? They find themselves in that crisis situation, and mom had the stroke. They wake up in the morning, and they're not mom's caregiver, but by the end of the day, suddenly this job has been given to them, and they've lovingly accepted it, but their whole life is about to change. That child's life, who now is taking over to help care for mom or dad, their life is going to be different. And the first thing they're going to look to do is figure out, do I have the ability to speak on mom or dad's behalf? Do I have the ability to make decisions for them or help them with their everyday life and financial activity,
like
and personal activity?
For instance.
Like a power of attorney.
Yeah, and how many people have them?
Well, surprisingly, a lot of people do.
Do they?
How many have good ones? Well, that's up in the air, right? So look, more people, I think, have them anymore than don't. I see a lot of people with a power of attorney document. I see some where they've gotten them off the shelf, where they've gone to the store and picked one up and filled it out. And sometimes they don't do it correctly and they run into problems. And if you don't do it right, it's actually almost as though you never had one in the first place. So you really want to be careful. If you're going to take the time and effort to create a power of attorney document, you really should talk to an attorney to make sure it's done right. Because here's the thing, if you don't have a power of attorney and that crisis occurs, then we have to assess, can mom or dad sign a power of attorney now? Do they have the capacity to state what they would want to have happen, and then enough understanding to be able to execute that document and create one? In many situations, the answer is no. But just because somebody has Alzheimer's disease or dementia doesn't necessarily mean they can't sign a power of attorney. So don't automatically say, well, somebody's been diagnosed with a problem, so they can't sign the document, because maybe they can. Now, in many situations, they probably won't be able to. What happens then? Somebody has this problem, they can't manage their affairs anymore, but they don't have a power of attorney. What's our solution? It's a guardianship. Now, guardianship is much more expensive than a power of attorney. Right? You do. It's a court proceeding that requires doctors to be part of it. Multiple attorneys are going to be part of it. And it can be expensive and time consuming. And it can also lead to a lot of conflict.
Really a good point here to tell our audience that you might want to have the conversation among the family members before dad has a stroke or mom's dementia becomes too much to deal with. We're going to take a break right now for a word from our sponsors. We'll be back in a moment with more Live Better Longer.
Assurance. It's a word, a touch, a look that sparks a feeling. Peace of mind that everything will be all right. These are the moments that inspire us to do more than you'd ever expect from a car insurance company at a price that's less than you'd expect. This is more than just insurance. This is Plymouth Rock Assurance. Visit us at PlymouthRock.com.
Hi, my name's Casey Price, host of a brand new show called Everyday Elder Care. My show will help you take the stress out of caring for your elderly loved one by educating you about options and solutions you may not even know exist. Tune in every Tuesday at noon on RVN TV. We'll see you there.
Imagine the finest hand-selected USDA prime steak you'll ever have. The freshest line-caught seafood, our Wine Spectator award-winning wine list, and soul-satisfying desserts. Bring that together with the perfect date, the winning business deal, a memorable family celebration. Welcome to Rod's Steak and Seafood Grill in nearby Morristown, New Jersey. Bring your appetite and feed your passion.
For independent living for seniors age 62 and over, People Inc. offers safe, maintenance-free apartments across Western New York. The affordable rent is income-based. For more information, call People Inc. Senior Living at 817-9090.
In a world.
Welcome back to Live Better Longer. I'm your host, Bill Borton, here today with Casey Price from Price & Price, elder law attorneys from Haddonfield, New Jersey. So Casey, we were talking before the break about the issues around being able to make decisions.
Yes.
Right? So after you get through all of that, now you get into the second phase of all this, which is caregiving.
Right, care planning, absolutely. Yeah, and it's funny, what comes first, decision making or care planning? I always start with decision making, but the second thing is care planning, where what is the plan for mom or dad's care? See, a lot of people, when mom has the stroke and she's in the hospital, the family starts immediately worrying about the dollars. How do we save money? What do we do with the money? That's not the first step. Before you worry about the dollars, what are mom or dad's needs? Where are those needs going to be met? How are they going to be met? And what's our plan as the care needs to progress? Is mom or dad going to be able to go home? Will they need rehab? Will they need assisted living or nursing home care? And we kind of have to put that plan in place before you worry about how to pay for it. Mm-hmm. So that, I think, is probably the crucial piece of this process. You find yourself in a crisis, mom or dad had a problem. Where do we go from here as far as the care is concerned?
Mm-hmm. So people are, if they've been hospitalized with a stroke, for instance, assuming they've been a inpatient as opposed to under observation for 3 days, right, they get released to a rehab facility, then Medicare is going to pick up the cost of that for 20 days, right?
Correct.
And so beyond that point in time, chances are pretty good they're going to be going to a less restrictive environment or maybe even home at that point.
Yes.
And that's when the lives of the family members really change, because now they become caregivers as opposed to managing or coordinating care.
That's right. Well, it depends. I mean, mom or dad could come home and the family might be going in doing hands-on care, or they might put a plan in place where they bring in care through a home health agency, or maybe mom or dad at that point decides they're not going to go home, they're going to go to an assisted living community, mm-hmm, and the family's going to coordinate that. But if you've never done that before, coordinating care can be really difficult. Managing this situation can be really difficult because you're trying to reinvent the wheel.
Particularly if you have lives that you just had to put on hold.
Absolutely.
And you may have, again, other family members who aren't quite in alignment with you.
Correct. So what could you do to solve that problem? Well, you could bring in a geriatric care manager or a care coordinator to help you captain that ship. You're the one making all the decisions, but who could make that easier for you? Well, somebody who's done this 1,000 times. Someone who knows what home care agency might be best for your mom or dad's situation, or what assisted living might accommodate their needs the best.
Well, they can coordinate with the hospital, the doctors, the facility, the insurance company, if there is long-term care insurance, and the family members.
Absolutely.
They are worth every dime.
Yeah, they really are. I truly believe they are the most important part of the process, because if you have the care nailed down, first of all, it reduces the stress for the caregivers. Mm-hmm. Mom or dad feels better because they are getting the supports they need through the care options that are being selected for them or with their help. And it just, everybody feels better. Then you can look at other situations that need your attention, not just kind of you're always behind with care if you don't have a good plan. Here, if you're in front of the situation, it's just, things are much better.
Most people don't realize that long-term care insurance policy that mom or dad's been paying on all those years has a provision to pay for the care coordination.
That's right. That's right, and it's a great option. Some even have care coordination inside of them, right? Where there are care coordinators that are available to help as part of the policy, not just an external where you bring your own in and the policy will pay for that, but they can even help you jumpstart that when you make your first call to the insurance company.
Absolutely.
It's very interesting what services are available.
Indeed.
So yeah, so care. I truly believe that is the one step that most people skip, is the care planning. They just start pulling things together willy-nilly. And in many situations it might work, but in some situations it can really lead to a stressful situation trying to get mom or dad what they need.
How do you get involved at your firm with helping people set up the care plan?
Yeah, so my firm, what we do is, not only do we have attorneys at our firm, but we have a dementia care coordinator. We have somebody, a social worker, who works with the families to understand what mom or dad's situation is, and then what care needs they have, and the best way to meet those needs, keeping the goals of the family in mind. Some families say, mom or dad never wants to go to an assisted living or a nursing home. They want to stay home forever, Okay, well, we can put a plan in place that can accomplish that goal. You can bring care in. Mom or dad could go to a center, like an adult medical day center, where they can leave the house, go get that stimulation by being with other people, then come home at the end of the day. Oh, there's so much you can do. But if the plan then is to move into an assisted living, the care coordinator can help you identify appropriate assisted living situations, help you with services that can assist in cleaning out the house and packing up the house and all sorts of things. I mean, they can do anything that your loved one might
All
need.
these fun things that the average individual has no frame of reference for or any experience in doing.
Yes, it's the truth. You don't understand you don't understand the problem that you're dealing with half the time. You don't realize that there's an elder care subculture out there ready to help you. There are so many service providers that most people don't even realize exist, ready to assist with these issues. When your loved one needs to move, right? She's going to move from her house into an assisted living community. You don't know where to start as far as packing things up. I mean, there's 50 years of things. You could bring a service in to help with that specializes in helping the elderly close down a house, bring some things to assisted living, pack, store, and do and discard or move all the things that are left behind. Nobody knows that's out there.
I know several people who have those businesses.
Oh,
that do
absolutely.
that. Absolutely. And then the care coordination people, you can pick any number of people to help quarterback
Yes.
this type of a family crisis. But generally speaking, it's not best if one of the family members tries to quarterback it.
Right, because most of the time they don't even know. They don't know where they're starting. They don't realize, they don't know what they don't know.
And they're too emotionally involved.
Well, they are, and they do make decisions that are based on that emotional component, like the house. I want to keep the house in the family. And people will tie themselves to a house where in the end, nobody really wants the house.
Right.
And so they've been doing all this work around the house thinking it was important, never talking to anyone else in the family about whether the house is important. And they twist themselves up over that, not really hitting the important issues. They get tied to these unimportant issues and lose sight of some of the more important things.
When there's no plan in place in advance, it's a fire drill.
Oh, that's a great way to put it.
We're going to take another break for a word from our sponsor. We'll be back in just a few more moments for more Live Better Longer, and we're going to talk about the money.
Where bankers have lost all interest. Where robots and fat cats rule our fortunes. One woman
Hi.
will stand up and strive to do the impossible. Be treated like a person. Friends and neighbors will join her quest. Ordinary people will band together against the forces of corporate greed. And together they will form Philadelphia Federal Credit Union. Already in a neighborhood near you.
Assurance. It's a word, a touch, a look that sparks a feeling. Peace of mind that everything will be all right. These are the moments that inspire us to do more than you'd ever expect from a car insurance company at a price that's less than you'd expect. This is more than just insurance. This is Plymouth Rock Assurance. Visit us at PlymouthRock.com.
Welcome back to Live Better Longer. Casey, before the break, we were talking about getting a plan in place. Now let's talk about paying for the plan.
Yeah, the most important part. And it's interesting because the three questions we get when it comes to paying for care are, number one, what happens when the money runs out? Number two, can I protect some of the money from the cost of care? And number three, is it too late to protect money from the cost of care? And that's usually people's starting point when it comes to this. Why are they starting there? Why are they asking those questions? Well, because care can run up to $14,000, $15,000 a month, depending on what you need and where you are.
It's funny how when the kids were younger, that mom and dad's money didn't seem that important. But now that they have adult children in college, all of a sudden that legacy starts to really matter.
Yeah, it really does. It really does. And of course, right, I'd be remiss if I didn't go all the way back to the beginning and say long-term care insurance can solve this problem in large part. If somebody has $6,000, $8,000 coming in a month, that goes a long way towards offsetting that $14,000 bill that comes in for the care.
And if it's a partnership qualified policy, then it provides even more value.
Right, because they get to keep more assets before they would go on Medicaid. Now, Medicaid, that's the answer to the question of what happens when the money runs out.
Right.
In most situations, if somebody's getting care, let's talk about a nursing home for a moment. I think it's easiest if we illustrate all of this considering that the loved one is in a nursing home. If someone's in a nursing home and they're paying that $14,000 a month and they've exhausted their resources, they're going to look to Medicaid as the payer source. They're going to need Medicaid benefits to continue to pay for the nursing home for their loved one, because that's who it is that's going to pay for care when the money runs out. It's going to be Medicaid. Medicaid, however, has some rules. They have some rules because we're going to ask them, Medicaid, for their money to pay for our loved one. Medicaid says, we're happy to give it to you, provided you meet some eligibility requirements. One of those is assets, $2,000 or less. That's what you need to have, and generally speaking, but that's what you need to have in order to qualify for Medicaid here in New Jersey.
You can keep
Well,
you keep the house.
Well, it depends. If it's an individual, you can't keep the house.
Oh, right, okay.
If it's a couple, you can. Now go back to that partnership. If you have that long-term care insurance, you may be able to keep more than that $2,000 and still get Medicaid. Really important issue. I know you're going to talk about that in a future episode. So we're not going to go into it too much, except to know that that's a great added benefit for long-term care insurance. But if we're looking at standard Medicaid for somebody who doesn't have that long-term care insurance, $2,000 is your assets. When your assets hit $2,000, then you're going to be financially eligible for Medicaid. You have to have income less than a certain amount, otherwise it's possible. Don't worry about income so much right now. Worry about the assets, what you have there. But the most important thing is this: Medicaid's going to look back 5 years to see what you did with your money during the 5 years preceding your need for Medicaid benefits.
So the family can't just transfer the money and think they're going to qualify for Medicaid.
Correct. Transferring the money with nothing else could result in Medicaid penalties and prevent your loved one from having their care paid for by Medicaid for a period of time. You do it on your own, you're playing with fire, because people have a lot of these ideas. Oh, my mom can give me all of her money and she'll get Medicaid benefits. Well, that could create some real problems if she does that. And so you really have to be careful when you're trying to plan and protect dollars from Medicaid, from being spent on long-term care and trying to get Medicaid. Which leads right into the second question, though. That second question, so the first question, right, was what happens when the money runs out? The second question is, can I protect any money from the cost of long-term care? The answer is, in many situations, yes, you can protect money from long-term care. There are certain provisions in the law that allow you to move money from mom to a child or somebody else. And then there are strategies, legal strategies that we're allowed to employ that allow you to save and protect some of the money that might otherwise be exposed to the cost of long-term care.
Can you do this while mom or dad are receiving care, or can you do this years prior to that?
I see. So that's question number 3. Is it too late to protect any money? Now, question number 3 is an interesting question because you touched on something that's really important. If you start early, before they're receiving care, you can begin the process of protecting money. So if I had somebody who gave me a little more time, I may be able to protect a whole lot of their loved one's money from the cost of long-term care.
So having the conversation while mom and dad are still insurable, getting a modest amount of long-term care insurance that qualifies for partnership treatment in place,
Right.
having a conversation with you can really make everything work so much better.
Oh yes, it can make things. That is the perfect scenario. If somebody comes in having done all that, the long-term care conversation, then coming to see me before the crisis occurs, yes, we can get a great result. But what happens if they're not insurable, right? They don't have the long-term care. They're not insurable. They're diagnosed with dementia or Alzheimer's disease, but it's early, right? It hasn't really had a tremendous impact in their life and they come and see me. There are still things we can do at that point that could lead to very good results. Because you figure if somebody's just been diagnosed and it's very mild impairment, they might be able to live home alone for the next year or two. start bringing some care into the house, for years 2, 3, and maybe part of 4. Maybe they go to assisted living then for 4 and 5, those years, right? So there's 5 years that the look back would be, we could probably protect any money we wouldn't have to spend on that care.
Even if you missed it by a year, then the penalty would only be a year. Right?
Yeah, you can still get really good results. But here's the thing, Bill. Here's what most people don't know. If someone moves into a nursing home today and has some money, it may be possible to protect maybe even up to half of the dollars that they have when they move into the nursing home. So most people think, oh, my loved one's moving into the nursing home. It's too late to even try to protect money. No, in the current law, the way the law currently is here in New Jersey, we can protect some of that money they have when they move into the nursing home. Even though Medicaid has that 5-year look back, it's still possible in many situations to protect that money.
So the bottom line to all of this is talk to each other.
Yes.
Have the conversation in the family. Find out what the issues are and will be going forward. Find out who the people are that will ultimately need to be involved. Contact those people. Have conversations with them. Put a plan in place. This doesn't have to take a lot of time or cost a lot of money, and it makes all the difference.
All the difference.
When that phone call happens.
Yes. Yes, and don't be embarrassed. Don't think I waited too long. Now I'm embarrassed. I'm not going to do anything. Don't have self-limiting beliefs. I know this won't work. I've heard this won't work. Well, you know what? You can cost yourself a lot of money with these self-limiting beliefs where you think, I can't protect any money. My loved one went into the nursing home. You could cost yourself half of their assets by thinking that and not trying to look into whether or not there's a solution to your issue.
Casey, this has been great. Time flies, as it always does, at Live Better Longer. I want to thank you for coming on. This conversation has been very helpful, and hopefully our viewers will be able to save some time, save some money, and save some heartache as a result.
Well, thank you for having me and letting me share this important information.
I'm Bill Borton. This has been another episode of Live Better Longer. I'll see you again next Tuesday at 11 here on RVN TV.